prices aren't going to fall. Right. And I don't think they're going to fall for a little while. Yeah, are you good? How are you?
Yeah, well,
Do you think it was a productive meeting?
yeah. If we could,
Get something accomplished.
well, we get the chief to shut up and listen. He's got a lot of content.
He's, you know, you don't even have to do what he's doing. You can go to Fred Kilby because right now,
Yeah.
Kilby's is.
I like that. Fred doesn't say 10 words a good meeting.
I know.
And Chief likes to hear himself talk, but I just kind of kept a mental track, and he dominated.
Was she here this morning?
Probably 40% of the conversation.
Yeah, but Deb has it, I think, if she doesn't.
Okay.
But he doesn't grasp if you're going to break something, you've got to measure someplace.
You gotta have.
And he couldn't come up with that.
Well, that's because he is a fighter. Doesn't run he and all the other groups, but there does need to be a performance-based aspect of it. That I do not know. I was trying to figure out this. I don't think. Maybe I'll realize. Good morning, Mark. How are you?
You all right today?
I'm all right.
Run.
Just a few more. Did you go run?
No, well, just ran back from the annex.
Tracy,
I was just looking at this.
you know a toe
Well,
rumble,
days.
two rumble,
And it's over.
or
Either way.
a row tramble, row tramble.
I'll be out of town.
You
next
know,
week,
So,
so
you got to hide for a week.
You've worked around them or with them or
when I
anything.
come back, it's really over.
Yeah.
Which I'm okay with too.
Okay. Good person, though, as far as you know.
It's not fun. I wouldn't wish that on the campaign of my worst enemy. There is
Maybe you're not
absolutely-
going to have anybody for a while.
I hope not.
But I tell you, the way the crowd is right now, you might very well have them. You never know, because people are.
I know. Natives are restless.
And I don't, this taxes like they are, and everything's so screwed up. I can see why more and more people will want to get
Judge, I
involved.
forgot that you need to remind me. I bought our candy, set it on the table there when we were interviewing, and run off, and it's bagged up and
Me
everything.
too.
Okay, see, I was wondering about that last night.
Period. That's all any of us can do.
You got away with my
I got it all. I bought 4 boxes, and then she bagged it for me,
I
and
do
I got
agree with that too. That's a funny picture.
no, it's just the peanut butter.
That's those
I can get
wind
mint,
turbines they're burying.
I think.
That's ridiculous.
They hold it
I
out
don't know where that
yesterday,
went,
like,
but
I mean, there was a steady flow of people coming to pick up candy.
Good morning. All choked up this morning, just to see everybody here. No, the coffee went down the wrong pipe cough, so.
Every time somebody coughs, everybody dives under the bed. Oh my God.
Cold? I was cold last night. I could not warm up.
We should come inside.
I was. After I ran, I just got cold and I could not get warm. I got one more to go. Yeah, one more 6 mile and I'm done. And it's rest from here. Yeah.
That's a long way.
We're rethinking life choices right now, but it'll be all right, I think. Right. I video toured.
Houses across Alabama Tower, we weren't out there.
Yeah.
We just got the generator started and got everything.
Yeah, that last point too is so miserable though.
Came back on.
Because you wanted to go fast and the legs aren't there.
This morning, after the cold,
no, you gotta
the
go.
frost and dew,
You gotta suck it
my
up.
parentage came in the shop. He was looking for me underneath.
Hey, good morning. It's 10:04, call the city of Wichita County
You
Commissioners
couldn't
Court
touch his
order.
hair.
Everyone please rise. Let me just explain, this is Monday's meeting on Friday. Because Monday's a holiday and the court has gone to a conference the following week, so we wanted to be sure we took care of business and the things that need to be done. If y'all would join me in prayer a moment, please. Father God, we come to you so blessed and so thankful for so many things, and yet, as all children, we stray and we do things wrong. We ask you for your forgiveness. Father, look upon this country and around the world. We're not following the things you told us to do. We don't love one another as our brother or sister, and that's what you told us. Help us to do that, to understand each other, to give allowances and credence to others' thoughts and opinions, and keep ours and respect theirs. Lord, we ask you to guide this court as it does its business with members, the residents of this county. It's in Jesus' name we ask you to watch after those who protect all of us. Thank you. Amen.
Amen.
Join me, pledge. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now the Texas flag.
Under the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. Take seats, please. This time I'd like to ask if there's anyone who wishes to speak under public comments, either here in the audience or on the phone call in. It is 10:05. Okay, hearing none, I will close the public comment section at 10:05 also. Let's address the consent agenda. Commissioners would take action to either make a motion or to pull an item and ask for any clarification on it or move it down.
Motion approved, Gary.
Thank you.
Second.
Anyone there or on the phone wish to make any comment? Okay. Motion by Commissioner Waller, second by Commissioner Beecham to approve the consent agenda as presented. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. General business, item 1 is to review and approve the regular bills for payment. Order the county treasurer to disperse payroll and bill payments within 72 hours via U.S. mail, FedEx, UPS, or electronically unless directed otherwise, or may be picked up and ledgered in the treasurer's office.
So moved.
Second.
Any comments anyone have on the bill? Okay, motion by Commissioner Fincannon, second by Commissioner Beecham to approve the bills as presented. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Item 2 is discuss, consider, and to approve Peacemaker Technologies for toll lodging equipment for the Wichita County Constables vehicles, precincts 1 and 2.
Episode 4. What? I said episode 4.
Okay. I thought you were adding 1 and 2 together, and I thought, no. They taught you better in Bergen. Okay. Constable, you have any, either of y'all wanna say anything or?
You should be called in if y'all have questions for either, I guess Peacemaker starting out. You should have gotten an updated quote, is that what that?
Nancy, do you-
36,975.
Yes, it's
And what all does the 36,975 entail? But is that both software and hardware package?
That's the hardware.
That's the hardware alone.
Separate software program.
Okay. And do we have the supporting docs for that?
The software?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was presented early on. We haven't changed it all from day one.
That was the 1,200 and something and the 900 and something?
Yes, sir.
Is that going to change on, because I believe the last meeting we had, the judge said something about only putting it in one vehicle in Burke, or was that not true? What did you say about that? I want to go back and, I don't,
You're gonna have to have the.
a spare.
Yes, you're gonna have to have the car, but right now the car is used in precinct 1 because theirs went down. And so you're gonna have to have that software in the vehicle because regardless of who's running it, that's how we're gonna search the process from there on out. So the vehicle's gotta be outfitted.
So this fully outfits 5 constable vehicles.
Yes, sir.
With everything we need.
Correct.
And then we have the additional software per month charge? Or yearly, annually. And it's 1,200,
And 900, right?
1,200 per vehicle or
Yeah,
total?
No, just the total.
Okay.
You're probably looking at 2,200.
Okay, well, that's not.
So the original setup is 1,200, and then
Okay.
after that, it's 1,200 for precinct 1 annually, and 900 for precinct 2.
Got you. Okay.
And
I think we have a lot of rep on the phone there, because I know, Judge, you had some questions about that, or one of you had questions about who owns the data, or
That was one of the questions, and, now, I have the original, from a while back, the Logic bid,
there's 27,000.
not what I'm looking at, not Cologic's bid.
That's the software.
That's the software, that's
Collogic.
1,200. And that would have been for precinct 1, and then 900.
That's the annual, so you gotta pay
Yeah.
the setup fee first. And then after that setup fee, and that's the first year. And then every year after that is just an annual fee for the software. Or it's a licensed user.
So who's on the phone right now with Collogic?
Should be Julie.
Julie, are you there?
Julie?
Yeah.
We may have to.
I'm sorry, I'm here, it's just a little difficult to hear you.
Okay, sorry about that. Julie, can you run through the pricing for the 2 different constables' offices on your product?
My computer is a little slow this morning.
It's cold.
Yeah, that's for sure. Colder up here where you guys are, that's for sure. Yeah, just stuck for a moment. But the difference is, this is nice. I'm sorry, it just doesn't want to work this morning. The difference is going to be probably the users and the number of users. If you kind of give me an idea, since I can't seem to get to it right now.
3, 1.
Precinct 1 has 3 users, precinct 2 will have 2 users.
The one is,
So then the difference would be in the number of users. Because the way you charge is all of the tech support fees are all included in the fees in the licenses. So you'll never receive an additional bill for any tech support fees that are used. So the more users you have, of course, the more the invoice is going to be, or the more the quote is going to be for. So that should explain that part of it right there, unless there's some other fees on there that are.
Well, Julie, I just want to be clear. So you're expecting a check from us in the amount of what to pay for both, to initiate our payment for both precinct 1 and 2. You're expecting a payment of $2,100?
It's like 24.
24 to include setup.
That's everything out the door.
Okay, the totals on both. So I just wish I could look at this a little bit better.
Well, I'm not sure how it'd be 24, because for precinct 1,
There's a setup. That's the annual fee afterwards.
So when we talked about this in budget, Judge, we talked about it and you asked, see what we could do to work with the company first, so we're not paying 2 setup fees.
right,
And so I worked with Julie, and she's actually discounted us quite a bit. If you have precinct 1s, you'll see that on the quantity on the left, it's 1 for 600, and that's for the constable. And then you see 2 quantity under reserve LEO. She has discounted his full-time officers from the 600 price. She's discounted that down to 300, because most of the time they won't be calling in for tech support. It'll be the boss, the constable, calling in.
Okay.
So she has discounted that for us. And then you see on the very bottom on there, it says setup and training under the item description, and it says on the total line item to the right, 0. And she hasn't charged precinct 1 for setups, because she's just charging it. It's coming out of my side, because we're all going to sit in the class together, sit on the computer together. So she's just charging us that one time for setups. And then if you go over to my side, 1 for the constable, because I'm always busy with the paperwork in my office, and then we have 1 reserve status at 300, so that's half the price. And then you'll see the setup fee. And that covers, the setup fee covers my office and precinct 1 to sit in there and take care of it. So she discounted it on precinct 1. If you look on the bottom box to the left, annual subscription fee for mine is $900. So once we get this $1,200 set up and everything in, every year we just owe $900 for mine, and then we owe $1,200 for his office, and that's it.
So for year 1, we're paying 24 to include setup, and then from there on 21.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
let me ask you on the extra vehicle that we talked about, can you have the mounting equipment in that? And then if someone switches, but it wouldn't cover the reserve deputy, then you would need that.
So we need the mounting equipment, yes. And so if it goes out of service, one of their cars goes out of service and they come pick it up, they would take their laptop that has their information on it, and they would plug it in and lock it in so the procedure's compliant. But the reserve deputy is still gonna have to have some type of terminal that locks into that so he can serve processes while he's out and about. If at any point in time we grow or they want to add reserves, that computer would be the reserve computer that each one of the individuals logs into and uses that process server. It's also an extra computer in case one of ours goes down that we have availability until at least maybe can send us something within a few days to get. So there's no delay in process.
Okay.
And Jarrett, you're specific to only precinct 2 info and when you're logged in, and Mike's only for 1?
Through Logic, we can share that. If we decide we want to share it, we can share it. If you decide you want to lock it down, you can lock it down.
Okay.
So who owns the data under this contract? Does Wichita County own any data that's put in, or how does that work?
Julie, I'm going to refer that to you.
Julie, did you hear it? Julie, the question was, who owns the data that's entered in the CoLogic software?
So you own the data. We provide it back to you in a file that's usable for you. And after 2 weeks of your notification that you will be leaving, and once you leave, we will provide that to you within a few weeks at no charge.
Okay. Fair enough.
How is the data downloaded to you?
So we are a web app. It's included an app, and we are a web-based application. there is no server, so to speak. All of our information is hosted in the Azure cloud. And so that is where students will get their information and banks and things like that. So it's extremely secure. You pay a lot of money to keep it up there so you don't get hacked or anything like that. We've never had that problem. And so that is where that is stored. So at any time that you're doing a report, such as in the car, and you want to come inside and finish it up, all you need to do is close up the vehicle or turn back in and enter your username and password, and you can pick up right where you left off.
You used a term I'm not familiar with, Azure Cloud. Is that a specific service for like law enforcement data, or what is that?
Yes, it's the Azure Cloud, and it's also called the Fusion Cloud. It's where CPS and the banks keep their information.
Okay, so it's a higher level encryption than regular user or my cloud that I have on my iPhone. It's a higher level encryption than what I would have on my iPhone for my personal use.
Well, I'm sorry, if somebody can repeat that a little better,
He's coming to you.
What I'm asking is the Azure cloud a higher level encryption of what we would generally think of as a cloud service on like our iPhone, et cetera?
Oh, absolutely. There's absolutely not even any comparison at all.
Okay, so it is a very pointed service for law enforcement type operation.
Yes, that's,
Okay.
that's where GPS keeps their, and the defendants keep their criminal justice information system data.
Okay, all right, I just wasn't familiar with that term and wanted to understand what we were talking about. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. That was a great question. And I had those quotes up on my computer decided to wait for the meeting at further.
Does anyone have the quote for CoLogic on precinct 2? I don't.
I've got it right here, Judge.
Do you? Okay. I did have it, but it's discrete. Must be in the cloud.
The only discrepancy is that number right there is not accurate. It's that 1,200, not the 50.
Okay.
That was after working.
Okay. We need, Julie,
Yes.
can you hear me? We need you to send us 2 new correct quotes.
Okay, I have the quote from precinct 1 in Michael Little.
Yes.
At a total of $1,200, that is for one full-time command staff at 600. He's got a full-time user at 600 and a reserve at 300. Setup and training 100. So that is a total of 1,200. And I will send these over as well in Constable budget.
Okay. And he can forward them on, but we need to have those as the backup. Because
Yeah, 1,500 is for budget, and I will definitely send those. I'll send them right now.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Judge, just a question
Yeah.
on the way that agenda item is written. Can we take action on both items, or
It didn't list the software.
it doesn't list the software separate? So is that going to?
No,
have
I
to be
think
part 5?
Well, no, it's Peacemaker and CoLogic both
It says
here.
Peacemaker Technologies for CoLogic equipment. It doesn't mention the software.
But it's really vice versa, isn't it?
Yeah.
We
I
can,
think it's just a typo.
Yeah. Tracy, you have any problems with that materially? I don't.
Okay. Just asking before.
It's not worded like we should have it, but it's all right.
It's not, and we've had a lot of discussion about these 2 things and how the Peacemaker is the hardware and CoLogic is the software.
Correct.
So, one of the things that you all discussed early on also was whether or not, when we were doing all this, the sheriff's office wanted to be a part while all of this was going on. And so, at some point, Constable Little indicated that the CoLogic is only, or was
Well, it's
manufactured
for constables.
use. But in looking at the website, what it looks like is CoLogic is for like running tags and gathering information, as opposed to going through
Right.
dispatch. And so, if that's, I don't know how to
Well-
reconcile those two things.
So that's not what I said.
Well,
I
and-
said CopSafe was developed by a constable.
Okay, but the essence of it was, we didn't see, the feeling then was, the sheriff did not need this this software equipment. They were using something else. Chief, is that correct or not?
Well, I want to start by saying the sheriff's office has no interest whatsoever in whether or not the constables get it. We were asked to provide facts, and that's what we're here for today. Okay. From what I've gathered by talking to other constables who already use CopSync, and from what Greg's told me, because Greg is deeply involved in CopSync and how we use it, having CopSync for the constables will be a double entry because Tyler does not interface with CopSync. And I do not know if the constables plan on the JPs getting CopSync to do their writs and Class C citations. So what you would have is the information coming out of Tyler for these writs, and then they would have to go in and put the information into CoLogic in order to use the software as it's done, as it's provided. So their reports and everything would be generated off of information that they've done. You know, our guys are still old school. When they attempt to serve a citation, they just write it on the actual paperwork that they attempted it on that day and move forward. And then after 3 attempts, you get your alternate service.
Right.
That's what we're doing. The information that is kept in CopSync is only available to other officers who use CopSync. So if they want to look somebody up to find out if they have an alternate address or an alternate tag number associated with them on a vehicle, it will only show them what CopSync has. So the Wichita Falls Police Department and Burt Burnett use Athena and Tyler technologies for theirs. So they wouldn't be able to access that information for people in Wichita Falls or in Burt Burnett that have those local files. But that doesn't mean that the information is not useful, because if other officers who've had run-ins with these people have the information in CopSync, then they can access that information. The constable over in Clay County said he'd be more than happy to come and talk to y'all if you had any questions. Sidney Horton, anybody familiar with him? Pretty good guy. He said that he does use it to log his service attempts and to do his reports. Y'all ask for reports from the constables. They do too over in Clay County. He's able to easily access that information that way. He can also assess his fees. He said it really doesn't take him that long to do the information. And I don't know if y'all have already secured funding sources for this, if you approve it. But he said that he got his put in recently and was able to use COVID funding because Peacemaker makes their computers are.
It's the only antimicrobial computer that, or in-car computer on the market right now. And it was originally made for the medical field, and they transitioned it over to law enforcement.
Now, Greg gave me really a crash course in this when I was asked to look into it. If you have any other questions, you're going to have to ask him. He's the man who knows how we use it. We use it mostly for CVE and drug interdiction.
And criminal interdiction, highway interdiction. The important thing is understanding the universe a little better. CoLogic is the parent company. CopSync is a subsidiary of CoLogic. CoLogic can do everything.
That's not correct.
I apologize. Would you correct me then?
We are two completely separate companies.
Okay.
They're two completely different companies.
I'm sorry, Kathy. I mistaken
Julie.
myself. I know Julie Prescott.
I just want to make sure that we are two different companies.
But the thing is they can handle everything from a full RMS system, a JMS system, jail management, report management, the in-car system. There are several. The CoLogic universe itself is very large. We are looking at just pieces of it. So, addressing what Tracy was saying a while ago, how this looks like it's only good for registration and license lookup. It just depends on how you use it. It can be fully integrated. Just like everything with Tyler, it can be interfaced with Tyler for several $100,000. Okay, everything with Tyler is several $100,000. But, you know, the technology is out there for anything to integrate, but it's not cost effective. So, our cost benefit would be way out of line. The
So-
thing that we're looking at
I
in
do have a
housing
question.
is it depends on how far you're willing to invest the time into it for it to be profitable for you. I didn't know from your discussion with Constable Horton through the JPs in Clay County.
Yes, I believe they integrated COPSI through the sheriff's office, through their dispatch and everything else, so they're all
in their case, that allows them to electronically file the returns on certain paperwork. That allows them to arrange for alternate service after the 3 attempts. A lot of the manual work that we're doing now, they're able to do electronically and take care of visually.
So what data that is entered in CopSync will have to be then again, second time entered into Tyler?
Well, it would be all their work.
So
Now, a party would become freestanding, you know, if we had multiple citations to serve to one person out of COPSync, the person's name, you could only put in there once.
Right.
And it would always show up.
Right.
You know, anytime if you had to serve that person day after day after day, it would always, his name would be there. But the information for the citations and stuff would have to be entered manually.
Would have to be double entered.
Would it be possible for me to speak on behalf of the commodity of CopSync and the benefit to the officer?
Sure.
Yes.
Okay. So CopSync, we have, first of all, let me make sure y'all understand, CopSync and Commodity are the same company. Commodity did buy CopSync software, because they own the product. The reason that CopSync is beneficial to the officer, I'm saying that Tyler has this information. Tyler is basically a core software. They have made available now for officers for their records management system. So these papers that the constables are serving are created through Tyler in the court system. And when they come over to the officer for service at CopSync, the one who has CopSync, they have to enter minimal information. So they enter the call number, the name of the defendant, and that's it. They don't have to recreate that entire document because it's going to track their service to them. And this is extremely important because it can come up in court later. And it is more, it has more information than the Tyler system does as far as the tracking of the information. Now that's not important to every street officer out there. But it's extremely important to the constables that they're able to track what they've done, offer that alternate service that they need to. And even send a request from the CopSync vehicle, if they have the means to do it, they can send for that right there in the car. The request can come back from the judge, and they can make that alternate service right there on the spot without ever being because they've got eyes on the person. So, for that reason, CopSync also has much more benefits than just running a license plate in a driver's license. And it's true that if Wichita County Sheriff's Office or the PD, Wichita PD is not on there, we won't be getting the information that they have in there. But when you run a driver's license or a license plate in CopSync, it's going to tell you a lot of things. And it's going to tell you things that you'll never find running somebody's criminal history because you'll be able to see what other agencies have done with this person that are on the CopSync system, which is thousands of agencies, and then we will you'll be able to look at that. And if there is a bolo of jobs put in for that study, they will be notified of that immediately, so that they know that there is a person out there that wants to kill the police once they run that driver's license or license plate, if it's been put in. Constables have a very unique job. Every time, honestly, every time they touch somebody out in the field, they're really probably not their news. They're getting a divorce. They're getting sued. They're coming to take away their property, or driver's license and license plates to make sure that whoever they're actually looking for might be there based on the questions in the driveway or parking lot. So there are many reasons why this is one to benefit the constable and a law enforcement officer, but a constable definitely for those reasons. And just because they don't have access to the sheriff's office or to be a bad guy on vacation, is still a bad guy. So he could be there in Wichita County from the Houston area or somewhere else where we have many, many officers putting in information. So it's definitely a benefit for safety reasons and for productivity reasons for your constable. And it's well worth that much money in there. Annually.
So Julie, procedures compliance, is that part of the reporting also?
Is what part of the reporting?
Procedures compliance, like when you're running driver's license and all that, is that part of a report?
All our servers are located in Texas, so there are no issues with procedures compliance, there's no blame compliance, NIVER compliance, if you do office reporting on our system, we're 100% compliant.
And just to give the commissioners, Julie's bona fide, she retired from law enforcement. How many years, Julie?
27.
27 years in law enforcement, and worked for the lodging. So she actually has feet on the ground experience. As she said, to reinforce, do we have the access to locals like we would with PD? Yes and no. Do we have local people per se? Yes, but it's going to be from other agencies. As she said, any agency that utilizes COBSYNC, anytime there is activity identified with the person, that information is available to me. So we do have, that availability. We just are starting to build it up in this area stronger. I have set, in my case, my area for basically Wichita, Archer, and Clay counties. Both those counties are on it. Anytime a deputy or Archer City officer stops a subject with warrants, I get an alert. Anytime there's any kind of bolo that needs to go out, I get an alert. So there are benefits as far as reaching into the surrounding area, not just within our box.
I got a question. Now, this is based mainly to the constables and the chief. What you were saying a while ago, that the Clay County uses it and tied in, the JP has it also. One of the big selling points to bringing it to us to start with was y'all wanted to be able to send that over to get that direct order from the JP's office. This right here doesn't have anything set up for the JP, so how's that going to work?
It's the administrative through Lisa.
So you're not going to have to, is Lisa going to be entering all this information into Tyler also? Anything y'all do out there, is she data entering all that so we have it? That crossover?
Not for Jared, but for Mike she would.
Yeah, she would, for instance, if we do a barred person report, we can do that using ComSync software. We can make a copy of it, and then we can put that and attach that to our Tyler report, to the Tyler system, without having to rewrite and recreate the entire, it'll go in as a, what do you call it?
PDF or?
PDF, yeah, like a PDF document.
But we don't have to, in turn, buy a system for the JP's office here and a JP's office there and one in Burke and have those all tied in where they're together.
That's not our plan, no, sir. I mean, that's someday in the future you might want to, but that's not our plan.
I didn't want y'all to come to us 2 months from now and say, we bought all this, but it really won't work unless we pay for this other $20,000 for the system for the JPs.
Do you have precinct ones on there, or so it's administrative?
All I have, I don't have any of the old data, all I have is the
So it
new
shows
estimate.
quantity one administrator for precinct one, there's no charge for the administrative data entry. And so Valerie essentially could download this and just input her JP papers, or I can just pull the data off of the Tyler and input it with new, or just with minor numbers that tracks the papers. It
Okay.
depends on how, I'd like to work it to see how the program works, but there's no cost for administrative, clerical staff. That's complimentary from Collogic.
Because that data entry costs lots of money.
Yeah.
The county pays a lot of that already and for some things that seem kind of redundant, but that's why I'm asking. Okay.
This doesn't change, it somewhat simplifies the process, because think about how it's done today. I mean, what you're entering from CopSync into Tyler is going to be in a cleaner version than what you enter into Tyler from doing it manually like they do today, right?
So I understand correctly, whatever you enter into CopSync that needs to be imported into Tyler, you can just download it onto a PDF file and attach it to your Tyler
You can do that now.
packet.
I can attach
Okay.
a PDF file from anywhere to my Tyler.
To your Tyler.
Put it
So-
in to the-
So you're not gonna have to sit there and type out the report over and recreate it? Okay, because that, earlier on was said it would be double entry, that someone was, whatever you entered into CopSync, you'd have to come back and re-enter
So
it.
you
So-
do have to come back, and you do have to take that PDF and put it into
Okay.
the
This is an
system.
attachment.
As an attachment, well, which is, that's pretty simple stuff.
Right.
Yeah, well, that's,
Which is what we're doing today.
that's a whole different animal than sitting there and retyping it in.
Well, I mean, you would be doing double work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I would never do
the alternative is there is something similar from Tyler, but like Greg mentioned, for hundreds of thousands of dollars, when we initially looked at making that conversion and setting everyone up in that scenario, it was cost prohibitive.
Right. Tyler makes you not want to do it.
Right.
May I mention one last thing?
Yes, ma'am.
You know, wasn't sure if I was hearing this right, and I apologize for that. Once the data is all done and the constable has completed his attempt to serve, everything's finished, he can print out that form showing all his attempts and all that, and that can just simply be uploaded into the Tyler
Database.
software under that case.
That would make our, for our reports to you guys.
Let her finish, please, Constable.
I'm not sure if that would be considered double work, but generally, you can just print out what your service and then upload it into the software over in Tyler. I've known that to be other constables, that's the way they handle it, because it's not unusual for people that have CopSync that also use the Tyler system. And I also don't want to forget about the safety factors for your constables. That is so important for the amount of money you're paying each year, that they have access to knowing, having a good idea or might be trying to kill them before they go up to the door and serve. We just had warrant officer serve papers here in Comal County that walked up to the door and knocked on a known person that was going to kill somebody and shot him through the door with a shotgun, and the officer lost his arm. A friend of mine made his limit. So you just never can discount the safety factor that CopSync offers, the Tyler is not. So I just want to keep that in the forefront of everyone.
So for purposes of our agenda item, Julie, it seemed like to me you were trying to make a difference to us in CopSync and CoLogic, but then it seemed like you came back around and said CopSync is owned by CoLogic.
That's correct. So CopSync was a software that CoLogic bought the source code before. So we own the costing software. And while you try to call it mobile, there are so many agencies, so many officers on the costing system that everybody continues to call it costing. So we just kind of get it into the back and we just don't tend to call it costing as well. And that's what's on the control interface when you turn the computer on, it still says costing. But Coptic is owned by Cologic. Coptic is the mobile system of Cologic. Cologic has a records management system, jail management system, CAD, all the things that a sheriff's office or a bigger agency would use. But right now, we're just talking about the mobile, which is Cologic Mobile that is still referred to as Coptic.
But our agenda item is specifically for Peacemaker Technologies. So to make the motion, how does that?
And so, if you all want to make it two different motions, because it's two different things, the hardware,
And the software.
and the Cologic/CopSync, I just wanted to make sure that I was understanding what she was telling me, because when I Google CopSync, it takes me to Cologic.
Okay.
And so,
All
I
right,
wanted to make sure
but
that
you're-
our agenda item, we were.
You're comfortable in making two different motions under this agenda item? Okay, well, then I will move
And I want to
forward.
make sure, Mark, I'm clear on the total cost, Jared, for the equipment in 5 vehicles is a outlay, that we had some option there, right?
You could do a payment, or you could do straight up front, and y'all chose the straight up front, which is the new invoice. Kathy O'Connor, she's in charge of the Peacemaker side, and that's that $36,975 invoice.
That's all hardware installation at all for 5 vehicles.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And if I could, the question was asked the other day about, don't want any surprises on any of this, was about how it's going to, what source are we going to use to power these computers, where it's going to come from. When I spoke to, what's the name?
Wind turbines.
The gentleman from Peacemaker. Yeah. When I spoke to him, he said that the units, the computers use, well, they come preloaded with the Cologic software, so all that will be in the computers already. They use a modem, because I asked about using the phone, the county phone, versus an air card to access the internet. Yeah. And he said that using the modem is four times faster, I believe is what he told me, than using the county phone. And we should use air.
Which is hotspots.
So we're going to have a separate hotspot charge for each one of these 5 units?
We have that in our budget already.
Well, that's outside of this. That's an added cost to this
So your
motion.
phone won't work?
Well, he didn't say it wouldn't work, but he said best case scenario is air cards. That's what he told me. So I just want to bring
Well, most of our phones function as a hotspot, so.
That's actually the hardware we had installed Wednesday. They have the modem he's talking about. All you have to do is purchase along with the line charge. You're not purchasing a hotspot. You're actually just purchasing a SIM card. They have their own modem installed into the computer itself.
But
The docking station is a power station. It has a built-in cooling fan. It has all the ingredients that you need for an in-car system. We have ordered SIM cards through Verizon.
So the $36,975 is not an all-in, all-done price. We still have SIM cards and a monthly service charge for air card.
Phone line.
Yeah.
I'm running it. We don't have the SIM card here. It's still on order. I'm actually running this right now off of the hotspot that I was using previously.
So we don't know what that monthly fee is and what the SIM card cost is.
That would come out of our budget as far as.
It doesn't matter where it comes from. We don't know what that cost is at this
Well,
point.
it would be, right now, my plans are to run cell service, run my cell phone, county phone, to see how well that works. and then depending on that, I'll look at my budget to replace that if I need to. I don't think I'll have
And,
an issue, so.
and those, yeah, I mean, even if we had to do the hardware of a hotspot, but what Greg's talking about is different, better probably where it goes, but I mean, we're looking at $40 a month per hotspot,
It's 5 becomes
200.
Yeah. So,
And I'm sure that's, SIM cards are somewhere priced under
Really,
that,
yeah.
Greg, do you know?
36.9 plus 24 plus 1,200. Instead of this being 2,400, that's really 30.
yeah,
So,
for the service.
Right. Gotcha.
So the SIM cards are gonna have a monthly charge?
They will, I'm not sure.
Like a hotspot, Judge.
It will be less than what we are paying for the mobile hotspots.
But you still have to have,
You have to have mobile access, or you have to have internet access.
right. So there's 2 additional charges, sounds like we haven't planned on.
Just the, I'm sorry, I don't know.
Well, okay, if they work off of the provided cell phones, as Constable Burchett was saying, then we're fine.
There
Okay,
would be no additional cost.
all right. And normally our contract was US Cellular looked at, because that's who generally is our provider. I mean, do we compare that, or do they provide their compatible SIM
I
card?
will find out that, I don't know.
Are you talking about the SIM card? Like, what service, is that what you're asking? Judge?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's dependent on what you want. Whatever service you have is whatever service will plug in, that's the computer. That's why that cell phone should work fine.
Yeah, I don't know why the difference between a SIM card and a cell phone that acts as a hotspot, what the difference would be. If you were using a US Cellular SIM card or a US Cellular phone with a hotspot, I don't know what.
Well,
I'm not a tech guy, so I can't tell you.
I'm not sure if it throttles down through a cell phone
It-
versus coming back out.
Well-
Maybe you're concerned about the cell phone antenna versus just using a SIM card antenna. I'm not really sure the difference in that.
Julie, do you know anything about that?
That's gonna be Kathy and Daddy. So, can you repeat that?
Yeah, the SIM card, cell phone, issue with the Peacemaker computer system, which one is better, which one works? Do you guys have any information?
The modem, we have an amplified antenna we use on all of our vehicles, because obviously panhandle, a lot of rural areas, stuff like that, we never want them to lose signals. And we work with every provider. So FirstNet obviously is our big one because first responders, but we deal with Verizon, US Cellular, you name it. Our computers are set up to be able to handle any question. So, and the reason the modem is the way it is, and we put the amplified antenna is no matter how your connection is, you shouldn't lose service. And that's our big thing, is that, we just want to make sure that when you're somewhere, officer safety, obviously is the big thing, is they would get on their computer and do what they need to do. And get those goals when they need them,
So-
that they need to be walking into.
So can we use the mobile hotspots on our phones? Will that suffice to work?
You don't recommend it, it's gonna connect to that modem, but, usually prefer you use like a SIM card or something like that. But we do have several agencies that do mobile hotspots and stuff like that, so it should work even if you're using your mobile hotspot through the cell phone, because it should, once it connects to the computer, be able to run through the amplified antenna and also amplify that signal. So, that was a hard one, because that's more on our tech support side to make sure, especially that area, they know, because we have several agencies that have our computers up there in your area, Clay County and Archer, and you name that. There's a bunch of other agencies up there that all have, especially into the panhandle for certain Amarillo that deal with signal issues, and so we make sure that, like I said, that they're running the best so that they don't And so, and we also have our own 24-hour tech support, and it's at no charge. So if at any time, you know, usually connection issues, if anything, sometimes it's usually a software issue, but it doesn't matter. You can call our tech support and we'll make sure that you're getting your proper connection if you show any type of issues or weaknesses.
So in our area, in precinct 1, the phone service that we use is U.S. Cellular. We have excellent service in our area with the phone service. So we don't have connection issues.
Shouldn't have any issues at all.
Yeah, we don't have that. So knowing that, is our system going to work properly if we've got a good hotspot?
That's cell signal, yeah, and it should work perfectly fine.
Okay.
But I mean, I've got to say, Mike, what you said a while ago about the fella telling you, if I don't have my hotspot and I'm running my laptop off of my phone, I have delay compared to my hotspot. And that may be what you find. I don't know. And it may work fine. Who knows? But I'm no tech guy. But I tell you, if I had to opt between my hotspot on my phone versus my Verizon hotspot, my Verizon hotspot outperforms.
Yeah, we prefer that you run a hotspot or, you know, with the actual SIM card or, you know, from one of the carriers into the modem.
Do we still have the hotspots available, Judge? We used to have those.
I don't know what's on stock with Margaret right now, what she has, but we used to carry some spares.
Yeah, I think we only have 1 or 2 spares, and right now they're out with the county clerk's office, I believe, with elections. So we get those from Verizon, and they're roughly $40 a month.
It would sound like, I mean, step would be, let's try the cell phone first.
Right.
If we determine that's not reliable, and, you know, I don't know the speed, if it takes some, you know, 5 microseconds longer to get it through the, you know, y'all are sharp, but I don't think you're that sharp. Okay. So that delay, you won't fall asleep on.
The SIM card may be a cheaper option than the external Wi-Fi devices, where you have to charge the Wi-Fi, you have to do all of those activities as well. So the SIM card may be a cheaper, more efficient way.
Well, it would be.
Just price check that first.
Right.
I don't know what offhand what that would
Well,
cost.
if we can use the phones, I would prefer to use the phones and not have any extra cost.
Yeah.
And if it does take a look, you know, if it's a, you know, takes a second or two longer, I don't think it's gonna be an issue for us.
You just don't want to be sitting there and watching the swirl go round and
I
around.
love watching that.
Well, you're not doing traffic stops.
Well, either way, we're not talking
they do.
a tremendous amount of money, so, I mean,
No, I think it's somewhere around $40 a month or less, if you go that way. But I would prefer, I'm all about saving money, and if we can use what we got, then I want to use what we got.
Greg, the reason you all are getting SIM cards and the hotspots is, or not?
The SIM cards will replace the hotspots.
Okay.
We're, like everybody else, we're sharing a limited number of hotspots, and so, and I'm speaking out of school, but I would imagine that we're going to place those hotspots with other people who may need them within our organization.
but it seems like to me, like Cheryl said, the SIM card would be the ideal. You're not charging it, you're not doing it, it's just feeding off the equipment.
That's the one concern I have used in the past. My county cell phone is a hotspot. It's a convenience bill. It does drain the battery. Anytime you use it as a mobile hotspot, it's going to have higher battery use. And then you get, I've heard complaints about guys using their telephones where it will disconnect your phone calls.
Right, that's-
But those are convenience things, okay? The SIM card with the antenna amplifier, is just an ease of operation that
Yeah.
really makes it seamless. You're taking moving parts out of the equation, and essentially you're avoiding errors. You drop your cell phone, you break the glass on it, you sit there and get access to the mobile system.
But you can take a Wi-Fi device,
Yeah.
and fill in.
I'm not
Yeah.
campaigning one or the other, I'm just kind of throwing ideas.
I'm not sure we can move ourselves anymore without our weapon, our cell phone. They go together. So far, we haven't had anybody drawing their cell phone instead of a weapon.
I feel like I'm trying to buy a new car here. I want the car, but now I'm getting the formats and the underpinning and all that stuff in. I just don't know what the final price is yet, so.
Well, you can figure less than $200 additional.
But we still don't know exactly, we don't know
That's
what.
per month.
Yeah, per month, yeah.
Yeah, $200 would be a monthly charge.
So it'd be,
Not to exceed 200 additional per month. What is that, 24?
1,200 per year for one precinct, 900 per year for one precinct, and $40 a month per unit,
$2,400 a month, a year
$2,400 a
for
year.
the cell service.
I think we try to, as Constable Little was saying, and I think Constable Birch agreed, to try it with what you've got now, and if that isn't reliable and good, then we can adjust, and we can somewhat compare it to what Officer Wilson has said, and they're going to use the SIM cards. That may be the good middle ground to change. But let's grow it to is what I'm
Greg will know soon kind of how those SIM card deal works.
Almost immediately, just because we've been utilizing the mobile hotspots.
Right.
If there is a significant change, we'll know quickly.
Well, I think in the north and the far west part of the county is where you're going to question it.
That is, because we're on Verizon on these cards, Verizon's network is not as strong out in the northwest part of the county.
That's why this is, I'm not sure why we're not with U.S. Cellular.
Well, I'm sorry, I don't have the answer to that.
That's all right, but,
but U.S. Cellular also, we have limited service up there.
Well, that's good.
So that will be one of the interesting things I'm looking for, is I want to check service areas.
Well, and we're participating in a thing to hopefully improve the broadband coverage within Wichita County.
Fabulous.
But it's back to the age-old question, who's going to pay for it? Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll make the motion to approve the Peacemaker equipment at $36,975 as first order of business.
Second.
Yeah, what was that, 36?
$36,975 for the Peacemaker portion of the equipment.
That's for both?
For all 5 units, for 1 and 2.
Okay. Is there a second?
I did,
Thank you,
Judge.
sir. Any other comment or discussion by anyone? Okay. We have a motion by Commissioner Beecham, a second by Commissioner Watts to approve the Peacemaker equipment at $36,975 for Constable 1 and 2 to be paid from, we have said, through ARPA funding. Think that's going to pass now?
There is a section in there through the public health and safety where we can provide technology to police officers to reduce gun violence. I might be able to sell it there. I definitely can sell it in revenue loss money. So.
Yeah. So let's put ARPA or revenue loss.
Just whether or not the IRS is going to let me fly that through.
Okay. That way that gets us that. Okay. Call for the vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0.
And then I'd go ahead and make the second half of that, Judge, that we approve the $900 and $1,200 annual software licensing.
It's $2,400.
It'll be $2,400
for the first year, to include the setup fee in the first year as well.
I'll second the $2,400 for the first year.
Any other comments by anyone? Okay. Motion then, Commissioner Watts, seconded by Commissioner Beecham, is to approve $2,400 for co-logic software for Constable 1 and 2, and be paid from either ARPA or reduced revenue funds. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0.
And then y'all let us know about
Let's go ahead, part
I'm
five.
interested about the hotspot thing, and I'm sure about the SIM card. That seems,
That'd be good to know just for general knowledge.
heck, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Next item.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for sticking with us.
Okay. Next item is discuss, consider take action to buy back vacation time or approve banking the hours over the specified limits for 30 employees in the jail due to the inability to use vacation time. If approved, be paid. Employees with 11 or more years of service will be paid down to 140 hours, and those with less than 11 years will be paid down to 90 hours of time. Department 561. Chief?
I'd actually like that taken off. I wasn't quite sure how to do that. Captain Patterson's still in the information gathering stage of that, and there's not enough data right now to support our desire to do that. But that isn't to say it won't come up later.
Sure.
Just
And
needs to get some more data.
Can you make us a spreadsheet on that showing?
And that's what she's doing.
Okay.
That was
Great.
my question. We didn't have any real hard.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we have to prove to you that because of staffing shortages, and I've seen it myself when you look at the time clock system. If you look at some jailers, they'll take an entire week off, vacation, their 3-day week, and then their 4-day week, they're actually putting in 5 or 6 days. Whether that's because they requested the overtime or not, I can't answer that, but what I can tell you is that the time is there to where they're actually catching their full 80 hours in that second week of work. So they don't use any vacation time, because you can't double dip, obviously. So she's trying to gather that data to let you know a clear picture of what they are.
Just running a total on this sheet, that's what we have here, if I'm looking at it correctly. I added up like 868 hours. Is that close to what we're talking about? Just to get a general idea of what, okay, that's what I was saying.
We have quite a number of employees who, by their years of service, they maxed out a vacation.
But I don't have a way to extrapolate that out to dollars, and that might be a little more, that spreadsheet.
And Patrick, how is that, like, I mean, I guess that's a technical question, Tracy and Tanya, on, so if I take vacation, but the next week I work, in the pay period, I work 80, did I take a vacation? I mean, that's a trick question.
And when I was at the
When you're
city,
doing the time, no, you can only get, once you hit 80, you have to actually be here 80 hours before you can accumulate overtime. So if you say you work 60 hours, okay, you took a whole week's vacation, we're only going to use 20 hours of vacation to get you up to 80. Vacation and sick time cannot put you into overtime. It's what you are physically here working.
they can't put you in overtime, they can put you in the straight time. When I was at the city, we could take vacation week 1.
So at this point, this is removed and we're.
Yeah.
Well,
No, ma'am, we haven't removed it yet.
Okay, all right, well, I'm just saying.
He's at.
He's requested it, but
Okay.
we're getting some background that is going to come, so I think we're okay, unless you say
I
differently.
just don't want to get us too far
No,
afield.
okay.
Never.
Yes, technically it can put you into straight time.
Put a straight
You
time.
just typically get them, use whatever vacation time is available to get them to their regular 80 hours.
Right.
That's typically how we do it, we don't pay over the 80 hours.
okay.
We can help it.
But why wouldn't we go ahead and pay the straight time if they took off a full week previous and then worked additional the next
Really
week?
how it's turned into us.
Okay.
We're only
I mean, then it would avoid some of this. It might not avoid all of it, but it would avoid some. Plus, we get people taking a week off, which they really need to.
Well, they are taking the week off, sounds like they're just
Yeah.
making up all the extra time in the week too, because.
But now we're asking for it to be reimbursed when it could have been all along at straight time.
Chief, the other thing in this, it lends the question to me. We put a lot more money in this effort to retain people. We've been in the new jail 3 months now. Okay.
This is November, yes.
Okay. So we ought to be gaining against this number of shortages. So if the money has been put there as requested, what else is happening there?
Just labor shortage in general. It's like the sheriff was talking about yesterday during his press conference. If we could, we would send these inmates to other places, because it costs less to send them somewhere than it does to pay as much overtime as we are. But other agencies aren't accepting inmates because they don't have the staffing either. They have the bed space, they just don't have the staffing, and we're in the same hole. Our recruiting effort has gone up. We just put a new guy in there. He's already got several things lined out. We're making a recruiting video. I mean, we're doing everything we can. We just can't get people in the door. I think right now they have 4 applications they're working on.
But I think, Pat, it is buying down. I mean, I think if you looked at it versus 6 months ago, we're definitely in a better place.
There's not as many people leaving. We're still trying to put our finger on what's the cause of all these people leaving.
Well, we're doing exit interviews, we're doing any kind of survey, we're doing, there's a point that I think, at least as a member of the court, I feel like, okay, I kind of want to hear some reasons why. I only have one I've talked to, and, he said it wasn't the money was the reason he left. So maybe we need to look at the culture a little.
Okay.
Okay?
Yes, sir.
So maybe as we do this, let's start having some dialogue about that and what, because money's part of it, but there's got to be something else happening.
And those are discussions that go on in the command staff area.
Okay.
Between Lisa, the sheriff, and Will and I. We talk about these things. What are we doing right? What are we doing wrong? But we're working on it.
Well, you all have liaisons to SO and jail, and maybe we ought to be included in those conversations.
Okay. Something we definitely discuss.
Okay. Okay, so we'll wait on you all to bring that back.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. All right. Item 4 is discuss, consider, take action on salary supplement stipends for county personnel. Ms. Rushing.
Good morning, Lynn. I'm bringing this back up. We've talked about, we've touched on stipend or supplemental salaries for county employees due to the economic impact of the pandemic and the labor shortages and everything that's going on. And we know they're closing their businesses. But I've done some research since the last time that we've talked about it, and we talked about it informally, not in here. And I wanted to start this. I gave you each a little packet, but that very first part is just comments that have been made in this courtroom from you all and other people in here in the last week or so. The salesman I'm sorry I didn't get the company that was selling the heavy equipment you all were talking about.
Jeff Drysdale.
Couldn't give you a quote because the prices have gone up over 15% in the past year, and that started the chain reaction of prices are atrocious. Have you seen the cost of fuel? That trickles down to our employees. Our office daily has people coming in. What can we do? What can we? I'm not making ends meet. I know benefits gets emails, people wanting to drop their insurance premiums or supplemental insurance premiums because they need a little more money in that paycheck. I've given you also now, let me go with the salary part. The commissioners granted a $1,200 minimum pay increase per position. It wasn't per person. So department heads could choose to give one employee $800, one $1,400.
Thanks, Chief.
Or they could withhold it until the day when the person was deserving of it. However they wanted to distribute that $1,200. Well, for our lowest paid people, for the most part, $30,000, if they got that whole $1,200, they're ending up with a 4% increase. But if you take out the 7% retirement, the taxes, we're hoping they got $70 per month extra in their check. I watched Ag Day in the morning before the news. So Ag Day a couple weeks ago said the average household is spending $256 more a month for household expenses. Yesterday, it was yesterday before, it went up to $276 a month per household. That $70 does not help, and I know there have been the comments of, well, we don't want to make this a continuous thing. It's a one-time shot in the arm. If we could just help our employees just a bit. Sometimes you can't afford to work here when, you know, at businesses throughout the community, if we have an employer that says, you know what, Bob, you're doing a good job, we're going to give you a raise. But here you are stuck until the next budget session. Budget session when we increase pay and payroll. If you look down at the bottom of the first page, I gave a chart of people leaving. This does not include jail staff, just the professional positions that we post. And you can see in the first quarter of last year, we posted 3 positions. Already this quarter, we posted 10. And that we're not through February yet. And it's because they're finding greener pastures. Let's see. With COVID, just some examples of things that have come into our office. We've had road and bridge guys that have been off. They can't work with an oxygen tank. They're their single source of income for their household. And I hear it over and over again. What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? And, you know, I want to be like New Amsterdam and say, oh, how can you help? But I can't help. And I realize you all have a lot more to look at than what I'm concerned with. But to me, human resources is the people aspect of this county, and those people keep us going. And I feel like we need to do something to help them. And if it's out there, why aren't we looking at it? When we look at, in the final rule, and I've tried to make sure premium pay, I know a lot of times we think, oh, it's for law enforcement or it's just a particular class of people. But when I go to, in the middle of the page, National Association of Counties, they say premium pays for essential workers. But if you go to the Department of Treasury's rule, essential workers are workers who have been and continue to be relied on to maintain continuity of operations of essential critical infrastructure sectors.
Can I interject there? The premium pay is designed in the final rule to specific areas, not just essential. So they have to be in the public safety, human resources will qualify, some janitorial. So the retention pay is not. That's totally separate. Premium pay, like we're doing for the jailers, is a maximum of $13 per hour. Depending on the position, can only go over a certain amount of, pay maximum $25,000 over the life of the thing. Employee retention is a bonus that we can give to our employees if we are trying to retain them and we feel they're going to need to go to another employer. That doesn't have a cap on it. So 2 different things, apples and oranges there. So I kind of don't want to use the word premium pay when we're talking about what we're doing here. This is a retention bonus.
Retention bonus.
Okay. And I agree, Cheryl, and I have looked at, because I keep saying premium pay, and
right.
Gossip has corrected me. And said, and he's the one that gave salary supplements, stipends, and I've also looked at fiscal recovery funds, just flat out employee fiscal recovery funds. But I will mess up and say premium pay. But under premium pay, the Department of the Treasury lists people who work elections, state, local, and tribal governmental workforce. I think we're a local governmental workforce. Sanitation, disinfection, cleaning. I mean, the list is long. But either way, I feel like for county employees, whatever we call it, and I divert to Cheryl to come up for the right terminology. And according to NACO, It's to respond to economic harms to workers, families, and the list goes on, small businesses, nonprofits, impacted industries, but it does affect families. It affects our families, and we can do something good for our families. There's also been questions about, is it a good use of taxpayer money? We're taxpayers. It's our money. I mean, it's for you to, I understand, to divvy out as you see fit. But there are 500 to 550 county employees. If these employees have an average of 2 people or 2 dependents, you're looking at 1,600 plus people that this money would affect. If I am, and only because I, personal experiences, if I'm that family, like, well, Johnny needs new shoes and Susie needs new shoes, but not to the end of the month till I get paid. We may get those shoes today if we have an extra bonus from our employer. Going out to eat. How many families do not go out to eat because it's expensive? But if you give 550 county residents an extra bonus, how many of those, maybe all 550, will take one night out to go out to eat? That helps our eateries, that helps our local economy. We stimulate retail, and then just little things. I've heard parents say, well, I didn't sign them up because right now with basketball and t-ball, can't afford it to put their kids in. How many, if they're not planning on getting that money, all of a sudden it's, I can sign my kids up for structured, organized activities, campfire. All of that stuff takes money, and people cut it out and become latchkey kids because we can't afford that. My husband told me, don't talk fast. Let me see. Oh, not to mention people who have COVID bills. Somebody in my office that couldn't afford the insurance for their husband, and he's the breadwinner, and now she's living on $695 a month. A pay period. I feel for him, and I know this is a business, but 2 sides to me. I have compassion in the business side, but I feel for these people. They're the people that help the county continue their business even when other businesses shut down. They're the people that are still here. When I started back here, people would say, well, why'd you go to work for the county? I said, nobody ever leaves the county. And, everything is a little slower, but you don't leave because it's a good place to work. And you come back because it's a good place to work. I tried to call the TAC Resources Department, ended up with TAC Legal. Rita Coaches was supposed to give me some more information about the different counties around the state who have done various things. Some people are adding, I think Taylor County, $1 an hour per pay period for a certain amount of time. She did say, don't do what Boone County did. They did a $5,000 for every employee, including the elected officials. She said, that scares me. And I said, I understand. But, so they run the spectrum of who gets what. And I am requesting $2,500. And the reason that is because that, I have talked to some of our businesses in town. $2,500 seemed to be a good place, including, and if you want to ask me separately, I don't want to broadcast them here in this meeting, but even my staff, and I can say that one, Bert Huffley has been sharing the wealth with employees, and when payroll protection and other things came in, he shared it because that's sales, and sales was down, people were not making their amount of money. But I see for our people, they're staying for the security and the benefits, but the pay right now is an issue. And so I would, again, respectfully request a $2,500 minimum to each county employee.
So are we gonna do that straight across the board, even to those already getting the additional $7,800 worth of premium pay? So that's the question out there. Obviously, officials are not by definition employees, so it was not applicable to us through ARPA funds. The ARPA funds say to persuade employees to remain with the employer. We as officials are not employees by definition, so I don't feel like we can sell
Correct.
that. So that takes us off the board.
Correct.
$2,500 $2,500 at roughly 500 employees. I did include those already getting the premium pay. With all benefits would be a cost to the county at $3,046 per employee. So the cost to give $2,500 is going to be roughly $1.5 million. To give $2,500.
And
So
that's
roughly 500 employees.
every employee, including the ones that we're already subsidizing with ARPA
Correct.
funds. What would it look like taking those that are already receiving ARPA subsidies out?
You can already cut it in half, Mark.
Yeah, you can almost cut it. So we're probably going to be 8,900.
What you got?
If you took out all the sheriff's department and jail,
That's,
be over 200, take up.
now, not all of the sheriff's department is receiving.
No, I think there's like 130 positions that are currently getting the premium pay.
But we got a different form of that going to all of the patrol staff and up to the,
Yeah, they're using the smart money, not the premium pay, so I'm not sure what you want to.
well, and they're getting,
Yeah.
they're getting all of it. The jail people have to, if we'll set up a system that
Right.
they've got to work, they've got to be there to get it for the, like 90 days at a time or whatever.
Right, so they are getting a certain amount every pay period, a limited amount, and then at the end of the quarter, if they stay the whole quarter, he kind of does a formula, and then he gives them an extra amount, so that at the end of the year, they will still get their full $7,800 if they're here for the entire year.
I would like to read a couple of comments, citizen comments, because I put this out to some people, asking some questions. This is just a comment. Money cannot fix every problem. Every person who has left the county that was listed in this did not leave because of money basis, money issues. Wichita County has a great benefit package that other companies don't have. Of our current staff that remains, most are long-term employees for the county. And they have good jobs. A large portion of hard-working Wichita County residents are in the same boat with inflation, and they don't have the luxury of the benefit package that Wichita County has. In quotation marks says, "and this is a luxury." To be granted a supplement by their employer. Inflation has not just affected our staff. Inflation is going on anytime, is not going away anytime soon. To spend money on employee supplements seems wrong. Overall, COVID did not affect the industry as did others in our community. I cannot support padding our pocketbooks just because we are in control of the money. And another one here. This is a one-time opportunity to do something positive with these funds that would be better for Wichita County as a whole. I'm just reading some things because I put it out to some groups of mine, and there's a lot of people, and Wichita County employees take up less than 1% of Wichita County people. So it's the people's money. I've said before, and I voted against using ARPA money for payroll reasons, but there again, I'm just one voice on the court. I'm not against I really want to take care of our employees, but I don't see that we're losing people from the county for funds. But there again, I'm just not seeing that, maybe.
Well, what I'm seeing is that people are leaving, and more people now than in years past.
And that's because right now there's so much job opportunity out there in the private sector because there's so many. There's a lack of people working. So yeah, you're going to have ups and downs and people going to county public sector work versus private sector work.
But retention is what we're looking for.
Correct.
And not every employee has been hit hard by just COVID, but everyone has been hit hard by inflation. And if we have the means to help, then, and it's not it may cost the county in some other way, maybe not as much water line for those people that are hauling water. Maybe, but I want to see how many people are affected for the county by inflation. How many people will be served as opposed to a water line? How many people are served by a water line? So, and I'm not picking on anybody. I'm just saying the number of people that are affected. The infrastructure is great. The water lines are great. I mean, I want all of them.
If that's the case, in my opinion, then we should have took the whole 25 million and turned around and wrote a check to every county resident, taxpayer, and let them have their money back. If you, I'm just being honest.
Here's the deal, inflation's here, it's not going away. Bob Ham can help me here. I don't think it's going away anytime soon. Inflation traditionally takes a number of years to right itself. In fact, a lot of times, prices don't ever go down. The economy grows to meet it. In other words, if you were paying $5 for something a year ago, and it's now 10, it's probably not going to be 5 again. It might be 7.50, but it's going to take a long time to get there. One-time check, sure be nice, and it'd be good. Wouldn't it be, we'd be better served, though, to talk about buying down our insurance rates? Wouldn't we be better wouldn't we be better served to say, you know, we're gonna buy down some of that employee participation in your health insurance, some things like that, rather than write a check? The one good thing for employees of Wichita County is none of them ever missed a paycheck due to COVID.
Yeah.
There were a lot of independent businesses that's not true for. And I think it's just not, I don't know, it just doesn't set well. I love our employees too. We've struggled in our precinct, and you know about it. I've got one gentleman, I'm not going to call any names, who's any information, that's got major medical problems, who's turned out now. And, you know, we want to help him. We want him to get good. His health insurance is gone now. He's looking at major surgery, all kinds of problems, and no income. I don't know, guys. We can't fix all the world's problems.
Insurance supplement is essentially going away and be completely gone next year.
Yeah.
There's only about 10 or 12.
Well, I'm talking, Willie, about everybody's participation in the insurance, the participation that we're doing. It's, you know, some of the things that we buy, the additional coverages and things like that. I just threw that out as an example, as to something we might look at, something in the benefits again, that would take a little bit of load off. You know, I don't know, can you do that retirement, Judge?
You can buy, you can buy.
Teachers have asked for an extra paycheck.
You can buy your liability down.
Yeah. That's what I'm talking about, Willie, not necessarily the supplemental deal that you're referring to.
You can use money for that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, the employee retention part, we can use out of our public health and safety, so that's the 15 million.
Yeah, I know that.
What you're talking about, we would have to use the revenue loss money for. If we did 330 employees, those takes away those already getting the premium pay and CSCE and roughly the officials. It's $1,017,000 to do 2,500. Keep in mind that the employee still would only bring home roughly $2,000 before their federal withholding, because I don't know what anybody's structure is. So taking out Social Security, Medicare, retirement, they're still only going to take home $2,000, a little over $2,000. So
Do we have $1 million problem?
It's
do we have $1 million retention problem? That's the bottom line question. We have a retention problem, but is it $1 million problem?
Unfortunately, the math does not support that. And that's the thing with the legislation. It specifically says funds may be used to provide worker retention incentives which are designed to persuade employees to remain with the employer as compared to other employment options. Recipients must be able to substantiate that the employees were likely to leave employment in the absence of the retention incentive and should document their assessment. We have to have the numbers to show they are leaving without this.
So you retain them, how long do you retain them?
Well, I will say it doesn't say.
Till you get that
Well, you got
stipend.
no guarantee.
Till you
when
get the $2,500.
That's-
I mean, that's a question.
No.
You know, if I've already got a better offer out here and you're gonna offer me 2,500 to stay another 30 days, I might work out. I'm just throwing out, there are so many problems with this.
Well, so
Great
then
idea, great idea.
So
Everybody,
then that
I
might
mean,
be the consideration that instead of giving a one-time payment, you give it a per check payment. Like, you take the 2,500 and divide it by 26 pay periods. So then your retention.
Or 24 months.
Wow.
Because
Well, it's like
you
receiving a sign-on
can seed it
bonus
over
over a
whatever.
period of time.
It would be.
That kind of concept.
So then if they see they're not walking out the door with $2,500, and I know it's only $70 or $90 or whatever it's gonna be, but it is a little bit more each month.
Would that be?
But that wouldn't necessarily, we wouldn't be out all of the money either if they all walk out the door.
If you think this is an interesting conversation right now, think about how interesting the conversation is going to be in July when we're working on the budget.
Well, that's what I was
That is correct.
next.
Think
And then
about
they're gonna be
that.
like, well, we recommend $2,500, can't we keep doing this? Well, no, we can't.
That's,
And inflation's still gonna be here. It's not going away anytime soon. That's the major problem. We thought this was a little bump in the road. It'd be a whole lot easier for everybody to get over, but I don't think it is.
to me, I think this is a subject best left to budget time. And if we have employees that are hurting or are underpaid to the market, then we need to adjust at the budget time.
Exactly. This should never be a temporary funds for long-term pay. I don't agree. For pay.
We want to take care of our employees, but I don't know that we've got $1 million problem.
And one of the best ways we can take care of our employees is remaining to be a solvent operation that operates on sound physical property.
And I would remind you that we have a deficit that we budget with reserves on the premise that we are not going to use that all. Inflation is going to throw a wrench into that.
One of the best things we can do for employees is ensure that that paycheck's gonna be here next month. And that's part of the process.
Well, at the city, we had what's called stability pay, and every year we get a stability, if you've been here X years, you get a percentage, and until you maxed out, we got a stability pay. Now, if we started structuring something along that lines to look at, I think I'd be all for that. But that's a budget, a longevity. That would be a budget time question, though.
The city's how far in the hole?
What's that?
City's how far in the hole? The city,
City,
yeah, the city of Wichita Falls overall. I think they operate in a lot bigger budget than the county, I mean, deficit than the county.
I know their current CFO has really cut that down, so.
But they operate consistently in the hole.
Well, I want to do everything we can do for everybody, but I also got to answer to that group of individuals called taxpayers
Yeah.
out here. They put me up here to take care of business, and so this would take a lot of work, and I mean, we couldn't do it today.
no.
This is going to be a long process.
It's a good question to ask.
It is, it's a great discussion. Once again, I want to take it, we've got good people, and we want to take.
We want to take care of them, but we want
But I
to,
think be it running a stable operation is one of the best things we can do to see you through that time. And, this would take a lot of work and a lot of planning.
yeah, it's certainly not going to be answered this morning, I don't believe.
There is no good answer.
No.
Judge, you remember what I told you when the first COVID deal came around?
Yeah.
Whatever you do, you're gonna be wrong.
Exactly.
This falls into that category.
That isn't limited.
Well, I want to say this for what it's worth. Thank you for caring about our staff. That's what an HR director should do.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Don't take away that we don't appreciate it. And it has started a discussion.
Yes,
And
it
it will
does.
continue.
No,
Yeah.
we appreciate what you did. And it's not on deaf ears. It's just not going to be solved today. Thank you.
Thank you for listening.
Okay, next item is a closed session requested by council, briefing and discussions with the Wichita County District Attorney's Office regarding motor vehicle damage and involving incident at the Precinct 3 County Barn, Iowa Park, Texas, and Rex Wells. The meeting is closed pursuant to section 551.
He was attempting to joke.
Yeah. Barry, would you give?
Okay, she's ready.
She's ready?
Yeah.
All right.
There, speaker's on.
It's 11. Just so. The phone's got to be back on. Tracy, can you get?
I don't know. I'll turn it off. Here, I got it. You are the first member of this conference.
Okay, it's 11:48, and we're back in after recessing for closed session at 11:39. Please report desires to take action.
15:30,
Okay,
I'll second.
thank you. In the motion by Commissioner Watts, seconded by Commissioner Beecham, that's to be paid from general fund contingency. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign, motion carries 5-0. Being there's no other business posted on the agenda, it is now 11:48, and we're adjourned.
Yeah, we did rent to do that. We took the tree out and rearranged. We won't have that again, because the wind will blow again. Yeah, the one day you drive this truck up.
Isn't that crazy?